welcome to Family Focus, a program produced by Family Service Association. I'm your host, Mike Moran. We thank you very, very much for tuning in for this edition of the program, as here we are in the month of May. And we hope you're enjoying the spring. We hope you will enjoy this program, and I think you will. We have an interesting subject, and we have two interesting people. We're very happy to partner with so many community agencies. And probably one of the best, and certainly one of the best known, is Citizens for Citizens. And one of their many programs is the subject of our program. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk about more than one of their programs because they happen to fall under the responsibilities of our two guests, who I will introduce: the Citizens for Citizens Foster Grandparent Program and the RSVP program. What are they? You're going to know more about those two programs at the end of this segment than you ever thought you would. We're very happy to have the director of both programs. She is Judy Charest. She is sitting to my immediate right. Thanks, Judy, for being on the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
It's great to have you, and you have brought your assistant, Pat DeMel, is here. And Pat, we thank you for coming on the program and talking with us today. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this field, because Judy, I know you from, Judy and I have been friends for a long, long time. I know you from that other universe that you were in when you were working with your husband Paul in the television business. And for those of you particularly in Greater Fall River, if you remember Eastern Television on Bedford Street, that's Judy and Paul. You knew I was going to say that.
I knew you were. You kind of gave me a heads up.
Well, and of course, you know, it's a proud history, because you guys were, I mean, you talk about the service you provide now and to the community. You provided great service to the community working in that field, and you saw it change over the years. And
in a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways. In fact, was it your in-laws that started
Yes, my in-laws started the business in 1946 or 7. My husband Paul and I took over we bought the business in 1986.
It was Bucky and Jan, wasn't it?
It was Bucky and Jan.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, some of us have been around, I'll speak for myself, for a long, long time.
The TV king.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, and Paul and I took over in 1986, and we worked together for 30-some years in the business. And how did I come to Citizens for Citizens? In 2010, Eastern TV had a fire. And we burnt down, and we were out of business for 9 months. So I knew a few people that worked at CFC, and I went and volunteered with Bill Leary doing the RSVP program. And then when the store was built back, I went back to Eastern TV, and then I found out Bill was going to be retiring, and I applied for the job for RSVP director.
Say, once you get a taste of that social service environment, you make some connections that are, I mean, I worked in the radio business for a long, long time, and then had a gentleman who was a frequent guest say, "You got to come and work for me someday," you know, and I thought he was just being kind, and it was Don Emond, and eventually I did, and I worked for him, and sort of slowly got out of radio full-time and started working part-time for Family Service Association, which later became full-time.
You've been there a long time.
Yeah, and it was a long time, but they had radio back then.
They did.
I think Marconi was the producer of the program that I did. But Pat, in your case, how did you get started in this field?
Well, I worked for Citizens for Citizens in the fuel assistant program.
Oh, okay.
For like 18 years.
Andy Mello?
Andy Mello was there. Liz Barabee was.
Sure.
You know, Norman Yell and.
Oh my goodness.
All of them, yeah. So I worked there.
Before he became a famous DJ.
Yes, yes.
And a justice of the peace.
Yes.
See, it's a close community here in Fall River.
So I worked there for 18 years, and I left to go into. I went and worked in the school department for 15 as a paraprofessional. I worked at Morton Middle School for 13 years. I went over to Spencer Borden. And then I started back at Citizens for Citizens.
So you never got a chance to work in the new Morton?
I did for.
Oh, you did?
I did for like 3 months. Yeah.
My parents went to the old Morton.
Yeah. My kids went there too. My children, Yeah. Wow. So that's how I got back there. I started off as the receptionist for like maybe 4 months or so, and then Judy needed an assistant, and
And I wanted Pat, because of her background working in the school department, better. And I mean, she's a huge asset.
Well, let's give a little thumbnail sketch of both programs, and then we'll get into really the nuts and bolts of each. Foster grandparents program, does it have its origins in the federal system?
Yes.
And then states and various communities qualify to become affiliated with it somehow? Take us through as much of that as we need to know.
Okay, so the foster grandparent program, as well as RSVP, is federally funded by the Corporation for National and Community Service. It's Senior Corps. It's the Senior Corps programs. And the foster grandparent program has been around for like 52 years. It's all over the country. And what foster grandparents do is they work one-on-one with children with special or exceptional needs, which could be a number of things. You know, math, literacy, needing some extra help, social, emotional problem children.
Right.
But that's what they do. They work one-on-one with children.
Wow.
And they work in classrooms with the teachers or in daycare centers. But that's what they do.
That's what they do.
And we usually try to keep them in either from preschool to at least second grade. Anything higher than that, you know, they have to be 55 or older. We have one that's 94.
One of your foster grandparents is 94?
Yes.
We have a few in their 90s.
Does she qualify to be a foster great-grandparent?
Yeah, right.
Is there such a thing?
Yeah.
There should be if there
Yeah.
not right?
But we have a lot of that in their 80s and their 70s. But we've been getting younger ones closer to 55 and 60, you know, like in between there.
Yeah, 60, that's
Yeah.
young.
Yeah.
That's
Where
young.
it is.
Yeah, it is.
Well, they have
Trust
to be
me.
55 to be on
They
the
do.
program.
Yes.
They have to be 55 and income eligible.
I see.
There are income guidelines. If a person lives alone, they have to make less than $24,120, and if they live with someone else, the guideline is $35,480.
Now, they're very specific, and I know how
Yes,
the
they
federal
are.
government has their formulas by which these
Right.
things are determined. We all scratch our heads about it, but I'm sure they have a good reason for establishing that specific dollar amount.
Right.
Well, the thing about the program is, and I think that, I mean, they don't make much money, but they're not employees. They're volunteers who receive a tax-free stipend.
I see.
That is the purpose of being the income. It's so that if they live in housing, it doesn't affect their rent.
Sure.
If they get food stamps or fuel assistance or any kind of assistance, this does not affect it. It's considered a tax-free stipend.
Well, and also, I mean, just logically, it would seem to me that you don't want to have built into a program that's going to be so beneficial for the community a disincentive for people
Right.
to volunteer. They say, oh, if I make a salary, if they take out taxes, you know, I'm going to be working, and is it going to be financially worthwhile? You just take that question and answer right off the
Right.
table by, you know, fashioning it the way you just described, Judy. That's good.
It's a great program. And it also keeps them active. It gets
Right.
them out. It gives them a reason to wake up in the morning and go do something. And what better thing to work with children?
I would guess that, and I'm sure that there are people that do studies on these sorts of things, but volunteer work in general for elders, and your program in particular, it's got to extend the lives of people. And I would bet that you have seen it
Right.
actually happen right before your
Right.
very eyes.
Yep.
And they have to work 4 hours a day, at least. They have to work at least 15 hours a week. So most of them work 4 hours. I have some that work 9 hours a day.
Really?
Yet they even do the after-school programs.
Boy, that's a commitment.
They also do the summer programs.
Can they work more than 15? If
Oh,
they,
yes.
Oh, yes.
They can
Oh,
and they
yeah.
do.
They can work up to 40 hours a week.
Oh,
can
for
work
crying
up
out
to
loud,
40.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do have some that do that. I mean, they work 5, 6, 7 hours a day.
They're just real go-getters.
And, you know, once they get in there and they start working with the children, and their time is up or whatever, they go, oh, I got to leave now because I'm in the middle of something. So
Yeah.
we told them, you don't have to leave. You can stay there. You can stay as long as you want. If you're in the middle of a story and you look at the clock and it's 12 o'clock, you don't have to leave at 12 o'clock. You can leave at 1 or 2.
Sure.
You know? So,
That's, I mean, that whole, now you got me thinking, because that whole universe of senior volunteering, and I would bet you $100 if I had it, that if I said to you that I'm sure that you praise your volunteers for the work that they do, there are people who tell you, I get more out of it than I put into it. You must hear that a lot.
We do hear that a lot.
Yeah.
We do hear that a lot. They do love it. And a lot of times they come to us because we've had occasions where they'll come in and they say, I really need extra money. Medicines, my prescriptions are costing more than I can afford. So they come in for the small stipend that they get, and then they turn around and say, I just love it. I just miss these kids when I'm not there.
Wow, that is great.
miss
So
the kids.
now let's deal with some of the numbers. How many foster grandparents from the Citizens for Citizens program are there, either generally or specifically,
Okay.
that you oversee and supervise in your program?
Currently, we have 54. We
Wow.
have 54 foster grant. Well, we have to take 2. It's unfortunate we
Yeah.
lost 2. One passed away, but so 52 currently. But that number changes all the time. We get new people coming on, and then other people get ill and retire. or
Where
something.
are the kinds of places, and you can be as specific as you'd like to be,
Okay.
that, and you mentioned it in your opening remarks, but tell us again and with more detail, where are some of the places where we're likely to find your foster grandparents?
We have several in the Fall River school system, pretty much in almost all of the Fall River elementary schools.
Right.
We have Westport. We have one in Westport. We have 2 in Somerset. We have some at Head Start. We have some at Taunton Triumph Head Start.
Oh, okay.
And we have some at Family Service.
I was hoping you might say that, Judy. I'll
We
be a
have
son of a-
some at Family
Wow,
Service.
What a coincidence that is.
and they've been there a long time.
Yeah,
They have.
really.
The ones that are at Family Service have been there a long time.
They have,
And they're pretty excited about
About the new
going to their new
building.
building.
well, and there's a lot to be said for that. And boy, are we going to make a splash on this program about that in the coming months, because we've got, and I think we may have, with our child care people, have talked about it on this program. We've got a new site that is going to be opening this summer that is going to be really, really exciting, and you're going to be
Yeah.
hearing a lot more about that. So.
And our foster grandparents are real
Really
excited
happy.
about it.
Oh, that's great. And I also have to mention, okay, let's put all the cards on the table. Judy is one of the newest volunteer, you're a volunteer
Yeah, I'm
too.
a volunteer.
Volunteer members of the Board of Directors at Family Service Association. She came on with the annual meeting that we had in November of 2018 and raised her hand and was sworn in, and
Yeah.
now is a member of our family. And we family is our first name, and
That's
service is
right.
our middle name, right?
That's
So
right.
we're, your appearance on the program gives me the opportunity to thank you for what you do in that role as well.
Thank you.
I do
Thank
have
you.
to say, my husband works for Family Services also.
Oh,
He's a van driver.
for crying out loud, it's a
Yeah.
small world. Well, we have an increasing number of vans out on the road transporting elders
Right.
and
He does both.
transporting kids to and from our after-school daycare programs and our adult day health programs. So it is a small world.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And the other coincidence is the 3 of us are blonde.
That's
So
right.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to talk more with our guests and about the fabulous foster grandparent program, and we'll learn what the RSVP program is too. We're going to take a time out for this message, and then we'll come back with more family focus. Don't go away. Stay right there.
Hi, I'm Carol Nagel, President and CEO of Family Service Association. A lot has changed since the day when our agency began its long journey of providing services to our community. In the beginning, our mission was a simple one: to provide caring and helpful services designed to improve the lives of the individuals and families who live and work here. And while the programs we provide have changed over the years, and the problems facing the community have become more challenging, Family Service is still here 125 years later to answer the call. As we look to the future, we'll continue to work together with our many community partners and to find new and better ways to bring our services to those who need them. Whether it's providing a warm, welcoming learning environment for preschool children, offering professional counseling, or helping elders maintain their good health and independence, Family Service remains committed to the spirit of that very same mission of service that guided us when we took those few steps in 1888. Please visit our website and learn more about our agency, its programs, and our long history of service to the community.
Thank you, Carol, for those words of encouragement and information. We thank you very much for watching this edition of the program. You're watching Family Focus. I'm your host, Mike Moran. We want to thank our partners at Bristol Community College and specifically Fall River Community Media, who allow us to use their studios to bring you this program. And we want to thank our affiliate stations. We are on public access cable channels, not only in Fall River Channel 95, but also on public access channels in Somerset, in Swansea, in Westport, in Dartmouth, in New Bedford, and in Fairhaven. So there's a lot of folks that are watching you two.
Oh, boy.
And
You had to remind me.
I had to remind you. Let's reintroduce our guests. Very happy to have Judy Charest and also Pat DeMel, who are here from the Foster Grandparent Program run by Citizens for Citizens, and also the RSVP program. And as I say Citizens for Citizens, I don't think we ever had Mark Sullivan on the program. You know, for all the years, and we've been doing this program since 2006, since long before he retired. I have a feeling that if Mark came on, I could have said, "Hi, Mark, how are you?" And I wouldn't have said another word for the remainder of the
You
program.
would not have had to. And it would have been a great show because he was very, very talkative and knowledgeable.
Entertaining, funny,
yes,
smart.
and all of those things.
All of those things. Mark is, he left a real indelible mark in the socials. There were people like that, and I think of others who are retired now. Dave Weed, who worked for the Department of Mental Health and also worked for the City of Fall River in the Public Health Department. And by the time this program airs, Bob Horn, really a guy that's done this program probably 6 or 7 times over the years, he will have retired. So there's a lot of fun. We're still at it, though, aren't we?
We're still at it.
All right. Well, tell me about the RSVP program and how it is different, or if there's any overlap with foster grandparents. Is it a totally different universe?
It is a totally different universe. Foster grandparents, there are requirements. What I forgot to mention earlier about the foster grandparent program, they have to be CORI'd, NSOPW, they have to be fingerprinted.
Let me just say, and I was going to get back to that because I wanted to find out, and maybe I'll ask you the question now, but when you say CORI'd, we use a lot of alphabet soup in the social service field. That's the criminal background check to make sure that your people, as we do with everyone that we hire or anyone who volunteers for our agency, all get the clean bill of health through that background check because they're working with elders, they're working with children, and obviously the need for that as a parent.
And I mean, by the time they come on, they have been CORI checked by us, fingerprinted by us, and then they have to go and be CORI checked by the school department or family service, fingerprinted for them as well. So they go through quite a bit.
An understandably thorough process.
They're working with vulnerable population.
Before we get to RSVP, and I'm backtracking now, are you looking for foster grandparent volunteers now, or are you at a point where there's not a need to recruit?
No, we could use a lot more foster grandparents.
We're always
yes.
looking for foster grandparents.
I think that once the program was working and the teachers and the schools understand what these people do, now we have the schools saying, bring us some more.
Can you bring us some more?
Can you bring us some more?
They see the value of it.
Years ago, the foster grandparents would go into the schools and they would just be they'd walk into the school, go into a classroom and work and do whatever they did. Nobody knew who they were.
Right.
So we educated the principals, we educated the superintendent, and they just love them. I mean, the Green Elementary School has 8 of them, and they'll take more.
That's great.
For Veris, the same. They have like 5 or 6, and they want more.
And especially
So-
with the classroom sizes nowadays, an extra set of eyes in the classroom and an
goodness.
extra set of
Sure.
hands.
Absolutely.
And if someone's, and what they do is basically if some of the children are acting out or they're just not getting something, the foster grandparents will take them aside.
Right.
They'll sit at a table with them separately. They have to work one-on-one. They're assigned children, certain children that they'll work with all year in math and literacy. And so,
And-
yeah.
And Pat, you can see the value, having been a paraprofessional in the
Right.
school department, I'm sure that you see the value
Absolutely.
of their
The children are
participation.
changing yearly, daily. They change, and they need. Some of them just need that extra attention that they don't get anywhere else. So for a foster grandparent to go over and just go over and take them and put them aside and read to them, or just take them for a little walk to see what they're make them happy.
Right, yeah.
They love that.
How about that?
They love that. If they're
That's-
not, if they're having a bad day, they come in a bad, in a bad mood. They take them for a walk and brightens up their day.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't put a price tag on that.
No.
RSVP, tell us about that,
RSVP.
Judy.
RSVP is totally different. RSVP, strictly volunteers. They do not get a stipend. They can receive mileage if they choose to. They can get 22 cents a mile going to and from their volunteer station. They don't have any hour requirements. We do require that they make a commitment. But these people work in, we have them in food pantries, soup kitchens, Head Start, school. They can be in schools. They have, we have some at Charlton, Bargain Bazaar in Taunton. Any nonprofit organization throughout the area
That is in need of a volunteer.
that is in need of volunteers, as long as they're a nonprofit.
But it's obviously not in a school setting where they're supervising or working with children per se.
Yes, they can be.
They can be.
They can be. They can be.
Right,
We don't have a lot that want to, but they can be.
Yeah. Well, just, I mean, in the few minutes that we have remaining, there's got to be a tremendous reward seeing, and you've already described a couple of situations that really show the value of having these folks who are working as foster grandparents, as RSVP volunteers, out there in the community and being productive. And I'm sure that in many, if not most cases, they've raised their families, they've retired from whatever employment they may have had as a career, and now they just have time, they want to give back. Hopefully they have their good health, knock on wood, and they're able to give back, and they get a whole lot in return. It must be rewarding over the years to have seen
Right.
the people that have gone through the program.
It is.
It is.
And I can say one thing, like especially for the foster grandparent program, because Pat and I, we deal with them on a daily basis. They're like our family. They're really,
We
they're
know
in
everything
our,
about 'em.
Yeah, they come in and share everything with us.
More than you need to know.
Correct.
And they make us laugh.
Yeah.
But we
And cry.
And cry sometimes. We've done that.
Yeah.
And sad stories.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But
Well, you know, when
they're
you've
like
been
our
ar-
family.
when you've
Right.
been around for a long time, hopefully you've had a lot of good fortune and have met good people and have had great experiences, but you also experienced loss.
Oh yeah.
You know,
We
talk.
just did. We just
just
did
did.
this week. yeah.
Well, there you are. Talk. You know, and if you talk to any elder that says, you know, I'm losing a lot of my friends, a lot of my contemporaries. I saw that happen with my own parents,
Right.
and it's something that's very sad to see, which makes the case even more strongly that for them to have something that takes them away from the four walls and utilizes their talents and abilities.
Right.
And I would think that the young people probably get a tremendous jolt out of speaking with people who are from a generation or two ahead of them to talk about what was life like when you were growing up. I know that we did a program, an intergenerational program that was about that very thing at Family Service Association, where we had children on our after-school daycare program meeting on a regular organized basis with elders at our Adult Day Health and talking about what was it like when you were growing up, you know, and what kind of smartphone did you have in 1928? Well, we didn't. And here's what we did, Doc. And the historical value and
Right.
perspective that it gives you tremendous. You must see that all the time.
We do see
Do.
it. We do see it.
Yeah.
That's great.
We love our foster
We
grandparents.
do love them. And we have to have it in service every well, we used to have it once a month. Now we can have it every other month. And so we started having it every other month. And they're like, we really don't like the in-service, but we really miss seeing you. You know?
What would you do in in-service? Is it in-service? We call it in-service training. Would it
Yes.
be in?
Yes.
And what are the kinds of things that you would talk about with them, or just?
Well, we have guest speakers come in.
see.
We've had people come in and talk about fraud, elderly
Oh, sure.
We've
Elderly
had
abuse, sure.
We've had people come in and talk about the different types of insurances and Medicare and stuff like that. We've had opioid abuse
Sure.
discussed. Actually, we had Chris Herring came and spoke
Oh, my
to
goodness.
our foster
Wow.
grandparents, and
We've had the
and
fire and the police
we've
department
had the
come
fire.
in and
Yep.
stuff. Yeah.
And then Pat does the timesheets and the payroll. So every week
I have
there's
to-
always something. So on the monthly in-service, she goes over those again.
Right, here's how you fill it out, folks.
Again.
Yeah, again. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I can't imagine too many things that are better than working with folks who are eager to give back to the community and do the kinds of things that the folks that you work with do.
Right.
So RSVP also in need of volunteers
Always
at the present
in need.
time?
Yes,
Always.
we have lots of different placements for them.
Right.
Especially soup kitchens and food pantries in the city. Actually, I wish we could get more for Taunton because we also service Taunton.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it. Should have asked you about this at the very beginning of the interview, but Citizens for Citizens, I think of it as, you know, they've got the Griffin Street location and they've got the Robeson Street location. Is that where you work out of that office, or where are you?
No, we work on Griffin Street.
You're on Griffin
We're at
Street.
the Big Blue
The
Church.
Big Blue House, yeah, I know it well.
We're at the Big Blue Church, but we have an office in Taunton as
Right,
well.
right.
And we're always looking for volunteers in the Taunton area for soup kitchens.
Sure.
And we have a few other places. Foster grandparents to work at Triumph Head Start in Taunton. So yes, we
So the need
reach
is
out.
great.
The need is great.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've both been, as I knew you would be, very informative. See, it was easy, wasn't it, Judy? You want to come back next month? Oh, she's not answering. I know. Listen, you know, I've made that phone call. I can't tell you how many times to folks saying, listen, I have an idea. I'm hoping that you'll come on our public access TV show. And then you go like, hello? Are you still there? You know? And I think Judy you kind of paused a
I
little bit.
kind of said, are you kidding? I can't do that.
Well, guess what? You've done it, so you can take it
I've
off
done
your
it.
bucket list.
It's
right?
off my bucket list.
Thank you so much, both,
welcome.
for
Thank
being
you.
here. It's
Thank
been
you
a
for
pleasure
having
to
us.
have you, Pat and Judy, and just folks, go to your phone or your desktop computer and just Google Citizens for Citizens Foster Grandparents Program. You'll get all the information that you need. If you know of someone who can share their time and be a part of this great program, we hope that you will. And we thank you for joining us for this edition of Family Focus. Until next time, we'll wish you all the good health and good fortune. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.